Hello, my name is Narki Norton, and I have the pleasure of serving as Assistant Director of Recruitment in the Office of Recruitment and Diversity Initiatives within the graduate school at the University of Georgia. This webinar will discuss how to create events in GradSlate. Before we dive deep into some of these videos on events, I want to talk a little bit about Slate and a couple of other steps before we dive too deep in the content of today's topic. Slate is an integrated online system that assists with the recruitment, application, and admission process of graduate students across the university. Our graduate school website has several different sources of information to help you understand and navigate GradSlate. In addition, the RDI office include a link called Resources for Graduate Recruiters. In that link, you'll see different webinars, one of which is a webinar on cleaning data. Once you clean that data from your event or the conference you may have attended, then we can import that information in our GradSlate system. An additional webinar is the one you're watching now. And this webinar will once again focus on how to use events as a tool in GradSlate. And then an additional webinar include how do we deliver messages to students that we're interested in within our GradSlate system. So we're going to focus on events, but before we do that, I need to talk about a couple of highlights pre-discussed in that webinar on cleaning data. For example, you're going to look at an option A. What does option A look like? Something I've discussed before. And then we'll talk about what we're focusing on today, which is option B, events. At this moment, I am sharing one of the documents that I included in the webinar that I've recorded in the past. This checklist was at the bottom of the template to show, okay, what are steps involved in cleaning data? So step one, you open your original Excel document. After students have attended an event or after you have attended an event, you have their data, you have their information. And then step two, you open the uploads template for import. This is that template that the RDI staff require so that we show you what fields are needed to import data in GradSlate. Step three, you're referencing a special formatting table for importing data. For example, if someone's birthday was May 12, 1990, would you write it as 5-12-90, or would you write it as 05/12/1990? Those are the differences in terms of formatting data that you really need to review. Once again, as a reminder, there is a webinar on this in detail, so I'm just hitting the highlights as a refresher before we talk about option B. So after you have your original document and then you look at what requirements we have and how it's formatted, then you move to 4. You're going to clean that data and you're going to apply the special formatting needs within the data. Then you have a very different original document from where you started from. You're going to copy and paste relevant columns to the uploads template for import, which is referenced in step 5. You're going to paste it in that template, and then you want to recheck those columns and recheck the data just in case anything was shifted. Step 7, you save the file. And step 8, you send it to the RDI staff member. So from step 1 all the way through step 8, you might be wondering, whoa, that's a lot. That's a long process. And I will be honest, it is. In order for us to really use our GradSlate system effectively, we need all those required fields that's referenced in that uploads template for import. However, option A may be a scenic route, but option B could be a little bit more efficient for you. So I'm going to scroll down and leave option A so we can see option B. Checklist for creating events. So for this option B, the shortcut per se, you have here, review creating events in GradSlate template. That is the template I'm going to go over in the next video recording. After you review that template, then you're going to submit a request via the creating events in GradSlate request form. That allows you to understand all the fields from that template you reviewed. And then when you're filling out the request, you know all the information that we're requiring, and then you'll submit it. Next, the RDI staff will build the event in GradSlate and transfer ownership to the host. So if you're representing a graduate program or you're representing a department, you would be that host. That's the term that I'm using. Once you create the content, I build the event, and then I will transfer ownership to you, the host. And next, you see that steps 1 through 8 to clean data and import are no longer required. So this gives you a good idea that we are cutting out a long scenic process that no longer may be required, because the form and the fields in this event that you're creating will require all of the information that the students will submit as a registrant. So back again, as I mentioned in option A, your event ends. Let's talk about that same scenario in option B. In option B, you've created an event through GradSlate. That student signs up through your event. They become a registrant, and they have filled in all of those required fields that is needed within the GradSlate system. So you no longer have to do anything beyond the creation of that event and the content of that event, because the students are now automatically in the system. I hope you see the difference between taking the creating and cleaning process and how long it may take you and all the process involved in it. And you perhaps consider that events may be in fact the way to go to make things a bit more efficient and automatically have the data within GradSlate, which is helpful for our office, but also very helpful for you, because it will show you as a recruiter all the events and interactions and engagements that this student has as a student who is considering your graduate program. Thank you. And next, we'll talk a little bit about that template very soon and go through all the fields required to make sure you have everything you need for events.